back to the North American LCS Spring Split. We are joined by the evil genius Snoopy here, the jungler. You guys coming up with your second win. Coming into that match, how'd you feel about it?
Coming into the match, we really wanted to win. We couldn't afford to go 0-2 after such a bad Super Week. It was a 1-3 Super Week. And also we tied up with our buddies Alliance back in Europe, so that's pretty good as well. Biggest thing coming into that game is we just didn't really know what they were going to ban. And that's one of the big things that we were looking out for in this game is we need to be reactive in the pick and ban phase.
So then coming into that, they tunneled on a couple of junglers there. Elise and Vi banned by them. Tell me about when it came to that. You're like, okay, they're clearly funneling down on junglers. Was the Olaf ban an adaptation, or was that already the plan?
Coming into the game, the Olaf ban wasn't an adaptation. We set 3 bans, Caston, LeBlanc, and Olaf. They were like our standard bans we're going to go with no matter what. Okay. But we were definitely unsure what they were going to ban. So we were playing reactive. We didn't actually plan the whole draft phase. We ran through a couple of mocks, but they were like very uncertain. So we didn't really plan the entire comp itself. We had to really react in the champion select phase.
So with them starting out with jungle bans and then you also adding Olaf onto that, didn't leave you with that many options. Yeah. What's your jungle pool looking like these days? Were you confident on that Mundo?
No. I have a bunch of champions that I love to play, but they don't really fit in this meal. Like things like your Fiddlesticks and these other junglers as well. I love playing them, but they're not really quite ready for this meta or whatever. So the Mundo, I hadn't actually played Mundo for about 4 months. Not even a solo queue game, not even a team practice game. I hadn't played Mundo, but I was like, we have Soraka. It can't really go wrong. As long as we don't feed in the early game, we're going to scale, pretty much. That was the attitude going into it. But we actually got a really good early game. We counter-ganked a couple of times, we got Lee Sin invading, and we kind of got the game rolling really early, which we didn't plan to do even after we had the picks. We were like, just survive the laning phase. We actually started winning it.
So you mentioned that Soraka first pick. Once you have this sort of mobile vending machine, did you guys, at what point did you decide to go, we're going to go this super poke-heavy tower sieging composition?
Well, the one thing we realized is that Ziggs wasn't really fed, so we could always sustain in the mid. We could just freeze it in the mid. And Shyvana was losing to Nidalee, except one mistake that Inox made. He was like watching the other end of the map and not even looking at himself, and then Shyvana went on him and killed him. But overall, he was winning the lane, so we could afford to send Nidalee splitting and then have the poke comp in mid.
Okay, so then actually talking about that poke comp, we do have a replay of your kind of final game-winning push at the bottom inhibitor, where Sivir takes a couple javelins and falls over. We can get the replay up on your guys' screen. And Snoopy, if you want to take us through this this siege here.
So basically, we know that mid lane's pushing in. This is a very annoying phase to be in when the mid hitting's down. They're in a defensive position. We're just poking and poking and poking. And we have Gragas poke, cleavers, and we also have the Nidalee poke. And it's a huge threat throughout the entire siege on this tower. And basically, we're whittling them down. This is the process. Once you get Baron and you have an inhib down, you're whittling them down. It's a really sucky position to be in a defensive mindset. It's like you're losing the game slowly. And unless they could force an engage on us, which they didn't really have the potential to force the engage on us, we're basically going to win that game. We're just going to slowly draw them out, basically.
Seems kind of like the ARAM composition from hell here.
Yeah, it does. It's like your dream ARAM comp. You have Soraka to keep you like constantly fed, and then you have the Nidalee poke, and then the Gragas poke as well. And we also saw at one point, like, we're having team fights around Baron, and it was a stalemate, and then suddenly Ziggs dies. And that's because Gragas was so fed that it just like this one Gragas barrel and Gragas cask, and that was it. It was over.
So then talk to me then, as you guys are clearly putting together a very good team, when you're playing extremely well, and actually, I guess, surprising yourselves in the early game. You've been putting on a really good show of late. I know you caught some flack on EG over in Europe. You had a new jungler come in for a short time. You've been doing a whole hell of a lot better. What's been going on with you?
I've been playing an insane amount. Like I think 2 days ago I played for something like 17 hours. I woke up at 7 a.m. and was playing until 11 or something like that. So I've been playing an absolute ton. And it's one thing I want to do. I want to focus on my game. The game has changed a lot slightly. Like the champions that you use have changed a lot since Season 2 when I was in my prime, basically. The game's changed a lot. And I've been constantly learning over the past season, trying to get better and better. And I honestly feel in a good place right now. I feel like my calling in the game is really accurate. Like our dragon control, even in the games we lose, is really good. So the only problem is people getting caught, and we're losing games because of that. I'm trying to pick up Lee Sin. Lee Sin's one champion that I'm like trying to pick up, and I have good games on it, and I have bad games on it. So we're still in the middle of it. I really want to pick up Lee Sin if I can, but I'm not quite there with it yet.
You actually talked about calls being good, people getting caught. There were a bunch of your guys' tweets yesterday after your loss of like, yeah, the calls were good, the respect for the calls was not. What goes on when people are just like ignoring you?
It's so frustrating. Pobeller, I would have called him out here a little bit, right? It just completely zones out. Like you might have seen one. I don't even remember one game where we had a ward and we saw the Olaf cross in the mid, and he just didn't like see it. And he called it. And he's like, after it, like, yeah, that was dumb of me, you know. And like you lose games because of that. So like, we need to really watch and really pay attention when these calls are being made and ping and then scream and then repeat it like 4 times as well.
So Pobelter, like, still in school. How is your guys' home life? Because you guys moving all the way over here across the Atlantic, and then Pobelter still in school. You guys have so many things to deal with. How is it, at the house?
So Pobelter doesn't actually stay with us. It's a bit of a limiting factor in the sense that we have to wait until he finishes school during the day, and we start playing at 3. And then we play from 3 till 10, and he has to do his homework at some point as well. And he doesn't really have a weekend to do his homeworks because we're playing then. So it's a little bit of a hectic schedule, but we're trying our best to make it work. We're actually living a bit too far from the studio right now, so we're going to look to move to somewhere closer. And once we get that down, I think we'll start to get the ball picking up, and we'll pick up some more wins.
Well, Snoopy, thank you very much for your time. Congratulations on your win, and of course, we'll see more of you throughout the rest of the season. Guys, we have more going on. Let's send it back over to Riv and Jat to take us into Game 2.
Thank you very much, Freak. And while the action continues now with Coast facing off against the first place Team Solo Mid.
Yeah, and it's actually important to point out here that Coast is 0-8 against TSM in regular season LCS play. This has been a completely one-sided matchup in favor of TSM.
Important? That's mean.
Rather important.
No, it is important. And it is a hurting thing that they're going to have to bring their mentality back around. It'll be interesting to see how these teams fare against each other since they're both built around their mid laners.
Yeah, and one of the reasons they've been so successful is actually how close both these mid laners work with their jungler. Yeah. Nintendo, he helps hold Shifter's lane whenever he wants, and it frees up Shifter to roam. Absolutely. It doesn't reflect in his score, but it definitely reflects in Shifter's success. And then also the odd one. We saw yesterday, he repeatedly ganked for Bjergsen over and over again. It was a two-man job to destroy Hotshot the way they did. Bjergsen never killed Hotshot 1v1. It was always with the odd one's help.
And meanwhile, Coast has had early leads slip away by making a few strategic missteps.
Yeah, already Coast has lost 2 games at the Baron Pit against Curse alone. They've also been losing a couple of their lanes, so they need to step that up as well and play more consistently. If you're not winning your lanes and you're not making good endgame calls, you're not winning very many games.
You can do one without the other, but without both, you're up the creek. You know what it means. Let's check out the starting lineups here. On the blue side is Coast. Zion Spartan in the top lane, Nintendo in the jungle, Shifter in mid, Wiz Fusion at AD carry, and Daydreamin' at support.
And on the red side is Team Solo Mid with Dyrus in the top lane, Odd One in the jungle, Bjergsen in mid lane, AD carry, of course, is Wild Turtle, and support is X Special.
And our featured matchup is Coast Shifter versus Team Solo Mid's Bjergsen. And it will hopefully answer the age-old question of what happens when an unstoppable force meets an unkillable object.
Yeah, in a sense, Bjergsen leads the league in kills so far. He's taking Man Cloud shoes for that title. But Shifter also has the fewest number of deaths, despite having a very high KDA. So this game's likely going to be a balance between the two. Also, probably LeBlanc free, because surprisingly, it's a priority pick for both of these guys.
Yep. And well, it's a matchup that's on our radar and one that is on Team Coast as well.
I'd say it's like about 50-50 when we play against TSM, mainly because of Bjergsen. He's a really strong laner. Bjergsen and I actually have very similar playstyles. We like to play pretty much the same heroes.
Bjergsen is an insanely strong mid laner for TSM, and we also have Shifter, who is, kind of like our superstar, I'd say. So I think a lot of it will come down to if Shifter or Bjergsen really overperforms and is able to carry the team.
It's really just a clash of who can outplay the other, and that's how mid lane's going to go pretty much.
So we'll see. You said it was a LeBlanc-free zone.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see if that actually, or they force somebody onto it and focus it, but I don't think so. It's too dangerous.
One last thing that's interesting about this matchup, too, is how well Coast does against TSM in scrims. We were talking with Dyrus earlier, and he was saying how he expected Coast to be top 4 LCS. He thought they were going to go 3-1 during Super Week. Their disappointing start at 2-3 is very surprising to TSM, because that 50-50 in scrims is no joke. That's what these guys do against each other.
And even X Special, I just saw I tweeted, he said, this is going to be a good game. Like, these guys know how to play against us. That's not what he wrote, but as you were saying,
he only had 140 characters.
Yeah, you only can type so much. So you have to do what you can. Looking at this, though, what is going to be the mid then? Because both of them try to go for something that roams as well still. So do you think it's going to be all mids in the ban phase?
I actually don't, because they share fairly similar champion pools. I think there's a decent chance that we're going to see LeBlanc ban. It's been banned 3 times against Coast, actually, and once against Bjergsen. Bjergsen's played it twice, but he's had a less diverse champion pool than you would expect. 2 LeBlancs, 2 Gragas's, and 1 Zed, where Shifter's played 2 Kales, 2 Nidalees, and LeBlanc. So there's not exact overlap there. There's a pretty good chance that I actually think we're going to see Shifter on Kale or Nidalee, and Bjergsen, I think he's going to favor towards Gragas, which is why there's a Gragas ban.
There absolutely is. You're saying Shifter on Kale.
Well,
we actually
maybe
saw
a
him
bunch of mid-bans.
try to go
absolutely.
quite hard. No, so we're not even going to talk about Kale. Get her out of here.
Riv was right. There's a lot of mid-bans right here. Gragas, Kale, Kassadin right off the bat. Let's see if they keep going right here. Just take out the champions they've played so far in the LCS. That would mean TSM would want to have to ban Nidalee next. No, they're off the train.
A little
Still
bit.
banning. Kha'Zix is still a mid-champion.
Absolutely.
Nintendo Dex doesn't necessarily play Kha'Zix jungle.
Another odd one.
Yeah. Those aren't guys who play snowball-y,
Another mid-ban.
get the game ahead jumpers. 4 for 4. We're gonna count it right now. So far, you're 4 for 4.
It's the Y in the vowels.
Yeah.
It fits. Sometimes, but not. Yeah.
Nobody actually went 4 for 4 at the start of the LCS, so now you're 5 for 5.
Here we go. We got one
last lottery number right
more
here, Riv.
mid-ban.
What would it be? It would have to be Nidalee. But I don't think they're going to ban in Nidalee this early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can tell what the focus is in this game. I feel like it's a very, very discreet.
Ziggs?
They're not very discreet about this. Ziggs would be a little interesting.
A little weird, but it's
I mean, I'm going with it. You called it all today. 1. No ban.
No ban. Or maybe to leave something up? No, they go for Thresh. All right.
They had to wait until the last
Thanks,
second.
guys. But no, it is going to be the Olaf to Nintendo. That's very nice for him.
And they banned Thresh away from Daydreamin'. He is playing Thresh 3 out of 5 times. It is his hook master right there. Before he came into the LCS, I believe Kobe mentioned this yesterday as well, he was pretty much just a Thresh and Blitzcrank player. Because he's really good at hooks. Getting rid of Thresh is a smart ban there. There weren't really any priority mids left, so...
I was going to say, I think it's weird that they're picking up Elise since Vi is that kind of for sure lockdown, and that's how they feed Bjergsen. But if you take away the slippery mids, you can take the Elise.
I think that is an interesting observation, but I also think that Elise just fits the odd one's playstyle
Oh, yeah,
more.
absolutely.
Shifter's a much harder person to camp than Hotshot, and it's a much more difficult strategy to pull off. Because Shifter is just so elusive in the mid lane. He's incredibly smart about gank protection for himself. And I like the fact that they didn't decide to go Vi. Elise is a more comfortable champion for the odd one.
So we will see. The support's now a little focused here by Coast. I remember when Daydreamin' came in. He was playing Elise and such. I missed those
Got
days.
a triple kill in his first game.
Quadra.
Yeah, you know, Elise could still be seen as support.
But so strong,
you
though.
talk to junglers nowadays, you'd be like, so when are we going to see Elise support? It's like, never, because I will always jungle
Over
Elise
my
if we
dead
get her.
body.
Yeah. The same thing with Olaf, too, in the top lane. When are we going to see Olaf? Well, he's good now.
Yeah.
He's just better in the jungle. So.
Especially on Nintendo. He loves to think so. And he'll try to prove it this game. We see Jinx being picked up. One of those top tier priorities right now.
Wiz Fusion's actually only played 2 different AD carries in the LCS. He played 3 games of Varus to start, and now he's on his 3rd game of Jinx. I like that lane as well. Leona Jinx has a tremendous amount of burst damage, especially against, being picked into Annie. If Leona can lock down Annie whatsoever, it's burst down. Oh dear. It's the roamer. That's the whole thing they're doing. The last time Coast was able to pick Olaf jungle.
Wow.
Yeah. No, seriously, the last time they could pick Olaf jungle was their win against EG, and that's when they did the LeBlanc roam. But Katarina can still be that roamer. Katarina will leave the lane at some point in the mid game between level 6 and 10. Nintendo Dex will just sit there in mid and wave clear with Olaf. And we're going to see Shifter go around and try and get a bunch of kills. Likewise, the most banned champion against Coast in the summer split. Riven was banned 14 times against Zion Spartan. Good chance he's going to take that top lane.
So with Coast composition, as they now have it all 5, if they don't get the early game, it seems like they're going to be a little too squishy to go anywhere else in the late game.
Oh, it's a real squishy team composition. They're definitely going to try and use Zion Spartan as a split pusher. Then they use their middle 3, which is Leona, Olaf, and Jinx, kind of as a roaming thing. And then you get to see Shifter go back and forth between the split push lane and the other 3. And that's their playstyle.
They're going to have to be very careful in their positioning, but they're not exactly dealing with a huge amount of crowd control unless Annie's there. So this is good for Katarina, good for Shifter to get things moving for the team. But Bjergsen is also on one of his favorites here in our matchup of the day.
Absolutely. Bjergsen Zed is so impressive. He pulls off some amazing moves on that. He had 1 win against EG on Zed already so far this season. I like TSM's bottom lane as well. It is a very powerful shoving lane. A lot of kill potential there. Wiz Fusion has been honestly quite underwhelming for Coast. If they're going to win, it's pretty much always because of their solo lane play, and I think that's a place where TSM is going to try and get out an early advantage.
Well, the early advantage is always behind that Reginald. Oh, not Reginald in mid. It's Bjergsen in mid.
Bjergsen.
Your brain just pulls it, the storage. And
Top
it's like,
kills
nope,
in the LCS,
not him.
dominating.
Yeah.
Now he's on Zed.
Huge.
He's on the playmaker right here.
Well, he gets one of the champions that he does want as the teams load into the game. Let's see who you think is going to come out on top. According to LOLesports.com, it is 94% of you that are confident Team Solo Mid are going to make it 5.
That is a big number,
5 wins
Riv.
for themselves.
94%. 6% is a very small shred of that bar.
I think there was a...
That's worth it. 94% of the fans could chant.
Yeah. I think it was a 95-5 in Europe.
There was one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did they lose that game? I don't think so. There was a wasn't the Dignitas Cloud9 game 95-5 or was it 90-10?
Like 92-8.
We're gonna have someone look that up for us.
That's not math.
And then we're gonna look smart.
Yeah.
Once we know.
Once we know. So looking at the Annie against Leona, that
Yes.
lane, obviously, we kind of saw Alistar being played in Korea, but
Against
nobody's
Leona.
picked that up here yet.
Exactly.
For that Leona matchup.
I think the Leona matchup against Annie is actually quite dangerous for the Annie. It's a dangerous lane in both regards. If Annie can get a jump on the Leona's AD carry, they blow it up. If Leona can get a jump on Annie while that's trying to happen, generally Annie blows up. And it's about the AD carry having enough damage while Annie is getting focused down.
All right, as we jump onto the Riff, our second match of the day, the featured matchup here in the mid lane between Shifter and Bjergsen, something we will be watching, as well as what's going to happen in this top lane. Zion Spartan using that Riven after the changes here in the 4.1 patch. I'm kind of interested to see how this matchup fares.
Yeah, a lot of her ratios have changed around from bonus attack damage to total attack damage. The changes are scaling a little bit. Supposed to separate the good Riven players from the not so good ones.
Oh. Let's see the odd one rocking a ward to start off here. They're going to favor a bit of vision early in the game. Or a bit more vision, if you will.
Yeah, you very rarely see the odd one going with a ward right off the bat. Elise, of course, can sustain spectacularly in the jungle with all of her spiderlings.
Fastest attack speed at level 1.
This is really what early game is all about.
Dancing.
Yeah. You got to find the right taunt to make dance moves.
You going to dance with a shadow now? Look at that. Damn. He's not even looking at his screen. He looked over to the other side. He can do it without
Shifter
looking.
could have harassed him there. Missing out on opportunities.
Second game of the day, BM already? No. These guys know.
Burst
Oh.
damage.
Well,
All right.
TSM has the lead. Let's see what they can do with it.
I think they're going to look to get some early pressure off that damage.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that actually says that the odd one's starting at his red buff. That means Nintendo Dex is most likely starting at blue. Standard lanes all around, but the bottom lane will have to be on high alert because both junglers are trending directly towards that. This also tells Dyrus and Zion Spartan they basically get some alone time together and they can fight. It didn't mean it like that. They're just 1v1 in the top lane.
Well, Zion Spartan has started that sword, so it looks like he could go into the Brutalizer right quickly, as we did see Urgot do last game on Yellow Pete. It's a level 1 Zenith Blade, and already Wiz Fusion and Dreamin' trying to put the pain down.
Hey, they got a little bit of early harass. They're trying not to get shoved out right at the start of the game. They know early level 2 in this lane matchup is of utmost importance. So making sure to get rid of that X special stun right away so they can't use it for kill pressure later.
Got to get minion number 7. That first minion of the second wave is all it needs. Bjergsen and Chipter nicely dodging each other there. Looks like odd one. That's always his path. He roams towards mid. It kind of, if there's a chance of a gank, he's there.
He's always there for a counter gank.
Getting this ward in, not going for Nintendo Dex, and it looks like they are going to be downside. Maybe we'll see him in the bottom half of the jungle. They're actually going quite slow on their paths right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's no rush
Right.
at the start of the game here. They're making sure that they would be there for some counter ganks. You can see Nintendo took an extra camp over odd one.
Right.
These guys in the mid lane, they're good. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. There's a lot of juking that can be pulled off with both Zed and Katarina.
Outplay champions are my favorite. Never straightforward and always get out of a slippery situation. Like you said, Bjergsen showed us that with his LeBlanc, with his Zed. Those shadow movement and clone movement is very big in his skill set. Right now in the bottom lane, Wiz Fusion has been forced to pop that potion. See if Wild Turtle takes more advantage and starts putting the pain down, since there's no sustain down here.
Yeah, well, Nintendude is going to walk right through a ward if he goes for this. It's a Zenith Blade that lands. Let's see if they can force something.
Still got it. Special with the stun. How's he going to use it? He has to flash the Flame Choppers. Tries to get the double undertow, but they take quite a bit of damage on this. Nintendude's forced to back up.
I feel like if Nintendude landed that axe on Annie, it would have been a kill, because that was a post-flash axe. And even though he took a lot of damage later, the burst would have been there for them. So it burns a flash despite being a ward, mainly because of Daydreamin's nice Zenith Blade.
And this will kind of help out the odd one now. He knows a bit of pressure is relieved off that first gank, so he's kind of just hanging out in his jungle. We may not see him for the next few, not seconds, but
he's going to farm up.
Yeah.
None of his lanes need his help right now, and his first counter gank like opportunity is gone because he didn't counter gank the first thing. He's going to go back and get that Spirit Stone, I believe. Make it so he no longer has to worry about any type of damage in the jungle. At least heals so much once he gets that new Spirit Stone, along with her already heavy lifesteal from her Spider-Ring.
It looks like that longsword went quickly into this Vampiric Scepter, so Zion Spartan can get close to Dyrus here, but he's also picked up that vision as he fears he's going to be a target.
They don't really know where Odd One's going. Even though he camped for Bjergsen one game, another game he ganks other lanes entirely. He's one of the better junglers at remaining unpredictable in the current season.
Trying to get a push on Bjergsen here. Using the Sinister Blade to get a good pressure on the wave. Zion Spartan in the face of Dyrus, so he's just waiting for the next minion wave to come up. But these guys pretty much even at 30 LCS.
Yeah, that top lane will be interesting to see if Zion Spartan can reach damage before Dyrus just starts stacking armor. Otherwise, it's going to be a very powerful lane for Dyrus. Mundo being able to survive the early game is almost never a good thing for the enemy team, especially when Shifter is looking to play Katarina, who relies heavily on resets, and obviously Wiz Fusion does as well with Jinx.
Here's another one from Nintendude, focusing the mid lane, and it's actually going to be for the counter gank on the odd one, who just feels it. The Spidey sense is all they need.
Yeah, Bjergsen able to outfarm Shifter a little bit here. Katarina definitely not that strong early on farm-wise, so this is an expected result thus far. Shifter just trying to survive to the point where he can become a roamer. And then he's going to be looking to make plays from there.
The odd one's already been to, or the odd one rather, Nintendude has already been to his lane a few times, so once he does get to that roaming point, it'll be easier and they're not going to be behind. See if it works out. The level 6 come in and he goes instantly for the ultimate, but it's going to be the death mark back on a Shifter. He has the damage, he has the victory in the 1v1. First blood, Bjergsen.
Fancy moves right there. That is the reason TSM picked up Bjergsen from Europe right there. First blood in a 1v1. Shifter thought he had it calculated. Bjergsen had it calculated a little bit better. And that's really huge for him in that 1v1 matchup.
Yeah, I think the Dorn's blade to that Dorn's shield start, he knew what he was doing, and he actually goes for more damage. The quick brutalizer for the long sword after, the scepter most likely. The Seeker's arm guard has to be bought up, and Shifter knows it.
Yeah. Katarina going for a very early Zanya's. Maybe not. Just going for
Just
a little bit of
piecing
extra armor. There's a chance he'll just piece this together. Because he wants the damage for roaming. He often goes with glass cannon type builds.
Back down to the bottom lane. We do have X Special, as most Annie's starting out with that Doran's Ring, but they haven't really been able to use that power. Wiz Fusion going early with Daydreamin in that lane. We see Zion Spartan still able to out-harass Dyrus a little bit, but he knows once that combo's over, he can always get his attack back as well.
Yeah, Zion Spartan using his Vamp Scepter to sustain. Dyrus has to use his ult to sustain. That whenever Zion Spartan can keep the ult on cooldown, it actually really diminishes the effect of a Dyrus teleport. He wouldn't be able to chase once he teleports down. So Zion Spartan, I'd say, is doing well to keep Dyrus down.
Odd One has been quiet this game.
Yeah. Odd One generally only acts up when he needs to, you know? None of these lanes
It's all rowdy.
have needed too much help. Bjergsen is fine 1v1. Ganking a Riven with a Mundo doesn't really work. And their bot lane has been quite fine on its own, just because Wild Turtle and X Special have generally stayed fairly well pushed up. Odd One done well to farm thus far, and they're hoping to get some kind of counter here. They're expecting Daydream and Fusion to go in as soon as they hit level 6, and Odd One wants to be there for the counter.
Pretty sure they saw him on that last melee minion, but it was just to get the lane pushed as well. We are going to have backing from the bottom lane. They need to get some items in, but the Odd Ones is known where he is on the map, rather, for Coast. So
Shadows down for Bjergsen.
Yep, Nintendo's going to use that to his advantage. They know the odd one can come from the bottom side, so they're careful about this engagement.
Really just trying to shove out the lane together right there. You can see that Gink had very low chance of success, even with the Shadow down. They still have to land more. That's a nice stun, though.
Very nice hit on Nintendo. We see Shifter rather coming down. 300 HP the last few hits. Shifter couldn't even react in time.
Is that a Vuvuzela right there?
Yeah.
LCS right here, North America. This is big stuff. That was a nice gank by the odd one.
Got the
Coast
Shadow.
is out of sorts right here. Woo! That Shadow's not moving anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
No, really,
It
though.
should have disappeared.
Odd
That's
one and
life.
Bjergsen are completely ahead of them right now.
Oh, yeah.
Mentally
Oh, yeah.
as well as gameplay-wise. Just completely ruining Nintendo. He burned his Ghost and his ultimate there. Didn't even save his life.
It's been something they've been setting up. Nintendo has only gone mid, and Odd One, that was his first choice for a gank besides what didn't work out at bottom. He's been planning this.
Odd one, biding his time.
Yeah, he's just waiting to get that.
Yeah.
Spun him up in the web, and he took him down. His kill and Bjergsen's kill, so those two that actually really have good mentality on the team to keep everybody up and moving, already doing well. So that's only going to help even more. The BF sword onto Wild Turtle,
Yep.
not bad at all.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of big damage. He might be going for the Bloodthirster early, but you can see he's only building the damage components right now. This really tells you that he hasn't been harassed almost at all in this lane. He hasn't had to go for Vamp Second because he doesn't care about the sustain.
Looks like Dyrus is winning that. Zion Spartan leaving the lane with about 500-600 HP, and Dyrus is just going to happily push this one up. His teleport is still up, but he chooses to just back here.
Yep. It had been a while since those guys had shopped. Dyrus taking his first trip of the day. Picks up a whole bunch of armor. Armor,
Wow.
health, wards, boots. There's a whole bunch
I
of
think he
things.
just took out a lone.
Zion Spartan, though, finished off his Tiamat, so he's going to try and counter-shove at Dyrus. That lane is really just going to be about Zion farming, because Zion wants to become strong enough to become a split-push force. Coast doesn't necessarily win in the ways other teams do.
TSM flexing their muscles here in front of Coast, the undertow, and the rocket just flying right by.
TSM is actually trying to play an incredibly controlled game here. I think it's their strategy against Coast, since the way Coast has won games is either Zion Spartan gets really fed, like on Nasus, and starts drawing 2 or 3 people over to himself, or Shifter starts roaming a whole bunch and creates kills that way. But if TSM just plays controlled, keeps the objective game up, doesn't overcommit anywhere, it doesn't leave many opportunities for Shifter to roam, and since they do trust in Dyrus, they're just expecting him to keep Zion Spartan down. It's really forcing Wiz Fusion and Daydream to do something, and they haven't shown that they're capable of it yet this split.
Well, last time we saw Zion Spartan on Riven, I remember the game he came back from graduation, and he played exceptionally. You know, Riven still has these
Everyone wants
changes,
Bjergsen here.
but he's evened out in the mid lane. It looks like they may get an assist onto this one. He goes ahead and forces the flash first, leaving his shadows up.
Surprising that Zion Spartan would pop his ultimate before even getting in damage range. Now when he goes back to the top lane, Dyrus is going to know that he can beat him in a 1v1. That's why he's trying to head him off here.
The ultimate is down. Not going to really have any wind slash left to use there, and it wouldn't do much to Dyrus, but he knows he can start harassing this lane even more. Like you said, HP, the armor, he's going to start doing some pain to Zion.
TSM in complete control. We can see, you know, the only 2 times Coast has actually taken games against TSM was in the finals of the spring split. It was a 3-2 best of 5. Regular season, 8-0 for TSM. It has been total domination here. And Zion is going to have to worry about getting dove here. No ultimate, so he can't counterattack. Let's see TSM work.
TSM has vision all over the map, so they can do dangerous things like this. And it looks like they may be a little too far off to get the kill, but they have the lane pressure.
They burned the flash. They got Zion Spartan out of there, and if they want, they can just take down this turret. Odd One is actually rotated to hold that lane, and it was actually Bjergsen who does first roam.
This will be going down in their favor, and that will be the first structure of the map. They've already grabbed a 3,000 gold lead, Jat, 12 minutes in.
Definitely one of the more controlled TSM games.
Yeah.
Every lane doing its job to do well right now. And that makes roam much more difficult. But because there was a Bjergsen roam top, TSM needs to be heady of where Shifter goes. He is a sneaky person right now, and currently they're looking to plan a turret dive. Daydream is going to try and get on here, but Darius is teleporting from the back.
There's the flash in from Annie, and the Timbers onto Wiz Fusion. A good hit from Dyrus. He doesn't actually get an assist on the briefcase, unfortunately. But they're going to keep going for the fight here. No, it's Turtle.
Great barrier.
Trying to get in. Oh, very nicely done. And they're going for Shifter still, taking him down on that as well. 3 have gone down. Nintendude found by Oddone as they go through Tri-Brush. He was a little late to the party, and Oddone was there to stop him.
TSM predicted that gank just perfectly. Shifter had to come in from behind the turret, and TSM initiated first. It meant Dyrus got to fight a 2v3, and then Shifter was late. Could not get resets, and it was a clean sweep for TSM there.
This is perfect for Dyrus to be out of his lane as well. Zion Spartans in mid. Let's just take another look at this initiation.
Yeah, Daydreamin thought this would have been good until Mundo survived, or arrived. Even if they would have lost Wiz Fusion, Shifter generally would have been able to win that fight if Dyrus wasn't there to stop them. Great stunts by X Special throughout. Wild Turtle waited just the right moment for the barriers so Shifter would commit fully, and it turned everything around. The roam failed for Shifter and worked for Bjergsen.
That just makes it even harder for Coast. The things they are trying to put into motion are being stopped dead in their tracks right now as TSM's doing it one step faster. The 3,000 gold lead now to 4. 5 actually, and it's 2 turrets now for TSM.
Yeah, this is going to be a tall order if Coast wants to come back. This is looking like one of those quick TSM victories right now. Zion Spartan did finish his Ravenous Hydra.
Oh dear.
But it's a finished Sunfire Cape on Dyrus. Pops his ultimate just to try and scare him off. So it doesn't look like Zion's going to be taken over anytime soon. No one else on Coast is doing well either.
Shifter really not able to get even farm in now that his lane has been kind of mushed up with everything that's been happening. He's down 30 CS now. Bjergsen, he's already in the 1v1s trying to get people to fight him here on split pushing.
Zed can transition into a strong split pusher here. And as long as TSM wards well, they will continue to keep Katarina out of this game. Bjergsen got a substantial lead on Shifter, 149 to 109. You can see 1,800 gold as well, while still nearly taking down his turret. Definitely round 1 here to TSM's entire team, every lane.
Yep, even in the jungle, Oddone sits 1,000 gold above Nintendude X right now, and he hasn't spent that gold. A lot of it is sitting in his pocket because he has been roaming. So we'll see what they produce with their next bit of movement. 45 seconds on the Dragon Jet, and they still have that covered with a bunch of wards.
It looks like TSM will want to take that Dragon soundly. Dyrus will have to make sure to rotate down. Coast is really hoping to find a rotation where they can get some type of 5-on-3 or outnumbered fight, because if they try and fight 5v5, they are going to get completely wrecked.
Absolutely, and everything that TSM's doing is just falling into place. The mid turret drops there. They're possibly able to drop Dragon right after this. The gold is just coming in bursts for them.
There's a chance this is going to be one of those starve-out games like we saw when CLG took out Curse. That was a much lower kill game. This is just like the objectives with the kills as well, so it might happen even faster. Nintendo's got to be so careful.
Bjergsen says, I can get the kill, I want it. Goes a little too early, but they still have everything they need to get this Dragon. 17 minutes on the clock, and it looks like Nintendude won't make it out of this one alive, but they know the threat from Bjergsen is down now, so they can watch Dragon get taken down. They can't go for it, though.
Yeah.
That's scary.
That is just 8,000 gold. Now, they wanted to flash that wall, but X Special didn't have his flash up. I think he was calling the initiation. You can see he ran up to the wall in the way that he wanted to flash over it. But he could not make it there. They still might look to turret dive, get counter-initiated on. Yeah. Coast would not be able to follow that up.
They wanted X Special there. His flash is not up just yet. So it's going to have to be a walk-in Tibbers initiation if they do go for it. Without Mundo here, though, diving would be a little scary.
Yeah, but look how much damage they're getting on the turret nonetheless. Knowing that Leona alters down, so the initiation isn't necessarily going to work. They know they are extremely far ahead. There's over 1,000 gold on everyone but X Special right now for the shop trip, meaning it's time to go back, buy some goodies, and continue to dominate. This is an extremely one-sided game.
And it's getting harder for Shifter, being one of the key players, a part of the featured matchup we're looking at today. He can't even build damage. The Death Lotus on his ultimate, you almost have time to just walk out of it before it really does that much damage.
Yep, no burst yet on Shifter. Katarina falling behind at this stage in the game is very bad. Also, the fact that the Aegis of the Legion was somewhat rushed by the Odd One. A lot of times you will see Elises go for haunting guys and more magic penetration. But this time, just since there's a magic resist aura, it diminishes Shifter's chance at resets even more. Bjergsen's going to have to pull some tricky plays here. Let's see what he's got. Oh, he's
not going to
free.
put it by him. Whoop. There he goes on the other way, and that's no crowd control that can keep him in place.
That was too easy for him.
That
really.
was too easy.
Someone's got to stick by the shadow. But they were too afraid to split up and let Bjergsen ult and kill one of them that they had to stick together, and that just meant Bjergsen gets away for 3.
That goes over to Nintendo, unless Bjergsen gets it somehow. I think he's got the range on it, so they're safe on that. The ward's already placed, so they knew they were going for the blue buff. TSM continues to keep those wards up. Still, at least 1 pink ward has always been on the Dragon this game.
And another thing to note about this TSM domination so far is it's a individual team effort, and I'll explain that in the sense that no one has been a part of more than 3 kills or assists, but they have 6 overall. Normally, like, your average kill participation for a player is around 70%. But since TSM is all sitting at 50 right now, that means they've been individually winning fights without many assists. Everyone on TSM is winning their individual matchup.
We can see Coast trying to push those individual winners out of there and jungle themselves. Bjergsen always giving somebody hassle. It looks like he doesn't have any wards on him. He has placed a trinket, so he's going to be able to be safe. That vision in the top side of the jungle. But the 8,000 gold lead allows them to play, will you say, a little bit careless now? They aren't, but they can take chances.
They're playing controlled, but it means they can do things that seem dumb. Like if Dyrus wants to completely turret dive, he can, because he's just that much stronger than Zion Spartan right now. If they want to force a Baron and get themselves low and then peel at low health, they can do that as well.
Oh, that was a bad choice, Zion. That was a bad choice. That might happen right now, Jad. If he wants to dive that turret, oh, come on, dive the turret.
He's really respecting Zion's burst right now. He got ignited. He's waiting for that to burn off.
It was close.
Is he going to go? No. Too much shield.
Some nice lifesteal coming in from the Hydra for Zion there as well. Healthy. I'm a little sad that Dyrus didn't dive, but another day he stays okay. That's fine. He gave that one to me. He said I'll dive a little bit.
Take a few turret shots just because he can.
The Zanya's almost finished onto Shifter. Really don't know how much it's going to help. It really, at this point, it prevents his death. He's still not killing people.
For about 2.5 seconds,
yeah,
it'll prevent his death, and then it will swiftly be met once again. Lowest deaths in the LCS as well, adding 2 to that list right now. Not the best game for Shifter. Really, the fact that he all-in at level 6 and lost set him completely behind. I think soon enough we're going to see TSM get the ward control over this Baron and take it. Surprisingly, Coast, because they're so far behind, is just playing extremely conservatively. It's one thing I actually respect about some teams who lose games quickly, is they realize they're incredibly far behind. So they just take risks, and that usually just means they die a whole bunch and lose earlier. Coast isn't taking many risks here, and it's bleeding them out of the game. They have to go in for a fight at Baron here, because that's the risk TSM is daring them to take.
Nintendo has the Ragnarok, but they don't go towards Baron, and Baron's not even taking the engagement. Flashing over the wall, there's the death lotus. Shifter grabs one. Shifter grabs 2. Can he keep going? Shifter goes down. It's going to be 30 seconds on the timers now, but he came out of nowhere with that.
Okay, that's one way to do it. Let's take another look at how this happens. So even though TSM feels like they have a clean initiation, everyone on TSM balls off. Look at this. All 5 people are taking damage from that Death Lotus, and once Shifter gets a reset, he's spamming Q and W as fast as possible. It's nearly an instant cast. Holy crap, that was a lot of damage from Katarina.
Absolutely amazing. Shifter turns everybody on their heads that fight. We were saying he's not going to have an impact, but he has put himself in the right position.
He shouldn't have had an impact. TSM, I said they could do like foolish things because they were so far ahead.
Yeah.
If there were like 3 of them in a ball, it would have been fine. Just not your entire team as Katarina is getting reset kills. That was absurd.
See what TSM can fight back with after being finally put back to their base. They had quite a bit of gold on them from just knowing they could stay out. The Black Cleaver finally coming in for Bjergsen, so he's going to hurt that much more. And it looks like both junglers going back to favoring the lock into the Iron Solari.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a key item for both these guys in this game. Obviously, Nintendo on the tank left. Just being tanky. Odd One trying to prevent what happened to his team in that last fight when Shifter bounced all around. He didn't really bounce anywhere. He just stood in a very small area and used all his buttons over and over again. But
It sure looked cool.
it looked amazing. The thing about this is TSM was so catastrophically far ahead that even though Coast did win one of their risky plays, they let it get to a point where that's not nearly enough.
All right, yeah. They didn't get much after it. They won the fight. Granted, they're happy with that.
They won the fight. They actually took a casualty amongst it, or two. TSM had to fall back, and then TSM took a dragon. So the gold lead is only about 2,000 worse. Coast came back about 2,000 gold, all said, but there's still 8,000 in the hole, and that's not good.
It's been 4-2 in turrets. TSM may be ahead, but they're having a little trouble finding the way to the next turret here. Still looking to see if they can push back on Zion Spartan in the top lane. Shifter, or rather Bjergsen, hasn't really gone back to split pushing too much. He's been with the team more now.
I actually feel like Bjergsen should probably do a little bit more split pushing. Seeing a Zion Spartan itemized in Negatron Cloak, it means since he is the split push opposition right now. That was a nice dodge. Since he is the opposition right now, that Bjergsen would be able to just finish him off.
So without Nintendo, really the one wanting that blue, I guess it could go to Wiz Fusion for some zaps, but the wave clear here not really in their favor. It's not exactly huge siege potential coming out of Team Solo Mid, and maybe that's why it's kind of all coming to a halt here.
Well, they were hoping that last fight would win them the game. It just ended up delaying it right
This
here.
is also a little different as well.
Darius is going to hope to turn this if Zion gets too far out, since he's a little bit out of damage. He's going to heal up and just continue to be annoying in that lane.
Looks like it might be that Void Staff coming out instantly after the penetration, being built up for Shifter. He's getting pretty close. No matter, he had a very hard time in the beginning of the game, and he's kept himself up in kills here without too much help from Nintendo. To flash on, but he gets hit with the cleaver right on, sticking with the shield dash, sticking with the dashes, and the W kill coming up for Zion Spartan.
Darius definitely being a little dangerous here. Bjergsen now trying to split push on the other side because the rest of TSM trying to stop Zion Spartan. Oh, dear.
No way.
Just missing him with that skill right there. A pixel away.
We'll see what kind of damage he has. The lock into the Iron Solari bursting right up, and it's good enough from the death mark, and Bjergsen slips out alive.
Not a good game for Nintendo X right there. Bjergsen did have to pop his death mark over here, and the stall continues for Coast.
Yeah.
Even though Nintendo got picked off, Zion, if he could start beating Darius in 1v1s, that just completely changes the complexion of this game.
Got a little scary after that, and Zion Spartan actually built up the Quicksilver sash for himself. Now we're looking at the Baron.
Yeah.
Let's see what they can do.
Jungler dead, teleport up, 5v4. This could be the game if they peel off for a good initiation.
Where are they going to go with this one? The lock-in has already been used, so they save the initial damage from Baron. Zion Spartan comes in, and he is quite a factor of DPS.
Where's Katarina? We got to watch for this. He's coming in from behind. He's very low, though.
Coming in from the blue buff area. Shifter down to 50% HP. The smite goes to the odd one, but he is very low. So is Bjergsen. The DPS is out of the fight. They're zoning out Fusion. He is way out of mana. Gonna go down in this instance, and they may be able to catch Shifter.
Really touch and go smite there by Odd One. He was low, which is why it was a little bit dangerous, but they controlled the way Coast was coming in. There was almost no danger of a steal as long as Odd One was alive. No smite alive for Coast. They secure the Baron. That'll give them the strength to maybe push through. Dangerous thing, though. Coast forced them into a risk.
Bring him back as we see Bjergsen here, that mid lane matchup, a feature matchup of the day. Bjergsen's 258 to 169. The early freedom has given him a run in this game.
Look at that goal, 4,000 up on Shifter right now. That's also because Zed has just been farming so much more, and Shifter hasn't been able to get into lanes where he can farm.
Right.
They've been giving most of that farm over to Wiz Fusion on Jinx, actually. Who's also behind Wild Turtle, by the way. TSM, like we said earlier, won every lane, and it's showing heavily in their farm.
Coast has some scary picks coming out of Champion Select. Like we said, they really needed to do well early game, but they're fending for themselves well here in the mid game, mid to late.
Yeah.
With that early game going bad.
Coast has stretched this pretty well. I expected it to be a much swifter and more decisive victory by TSM. Really that 5-man Katarina alt slash spinning blades and all the ridiculous.
All the death and the lotuses.
Sinister Steel. The name
Oh,
of the
yeah,
W.
just the spin. Yep.
Yeah.
Give a little bit of movement speed and a heck of a lot of damage. We'll see what they can do on this turret. It's already down to half health. That's going to be some quick procs. They already have the Triforce onto Wild Turtle, so structures aren't a problem.
Not whatsoever. This Baron buff is going to try and make a lot of pushing for the rest of TSM. No one can deal with Bjergsen in a 1v1 either, which is fantastic news for TSM. 6 turrets to 2 means they can continue this. And there goes Bjergsen. Is that going to get him?
Was fusing. Oh, wow. That was like 800 some damage.
A lot of death mark damage, but it was just enough to finish him off, and Bjergsen was hardly touched.
So crazy. Bjergsen not having any trouble going in and out. You can still see him quickly communicating with the team on the microphones. You see them all now, both teams telling each other we need to get back, and one needs to go forward. The culling comes out on Nintendo. He tries to sidestep it in with the strafe, but he can't get the damage. It's going to be Odd or Dyrus coming up with that one. 14-6 of the kills as the first inhibitor goes down in the game, and they're going to keep going.
Yeah, once Bjergsen deletes the AD carry, the then Baron up team with that 15,000 gold advantage is going to take the inhibitors no problem. TSM brute forcing their way through Coast Base.
Once TSM gets an advantage, they do not let it go, methodically working every entrance to a fight that they needed to, and the entrance to the base of Coast right now.
Inhibitor number 3, Daydreamin' still dead. Coast almost just has to run straight into a Baron team. It would surely be the end of them, but I feel like it's the end of them if they don't.
A full team of 5 can't even deter Tyrus off a turret.
Got him again.
They go to the back line. Shifter very low, trying to get the kills out. Wild Turtle's also bleeding, almost dead right now, but the kills finally start coming in. It's the mid-3 from Nintendo to Wiz Fusion, and they're looking at the Nexus turrets now, Jat. Daydreamin's the only one that keeps alive.
Another fantastic, decisive win by TSM. 30 minutes in, Dyrus just eating 2 turrets for breakfast. There goes TSM, another win.
Nexus is going to fall. It looks like Coast will not find any victories against TSM in their head-to-heads as TSM grabs another win.
And Riv, even though that game took a little longer than was expected, that was one of the most complete victories TSM has had because every individual did their part to dominate their opponent. They faltered a little bit to make that game stay longer, but they have to feel good about that because they fixed that one mistake and it's nearly a flawless victory.
A lot of Coast compositions come in and they say, damage, we are going to win these fights. But it seems like they're sometimes lacking that main tank, that main front line they need to be there.
Yeah, well, that's just the way Coast plays. And if they lose their lanes, Coast plays a very solo style of game. They love to rely on Shifter and Zion Spartan to win. If those guys don't win, the team can't pull off any type of strategy, tanks or not.
We see Team Solo Mid walking victoriously back across the stage, getting their 94% from their fans.
Yep, moves to 9-0 in regular season LCS play against Coast. It moves TSM to now 5-1 on the season.
Yep.
So good start for them. That puts them in first place amongst the standings. Cloud9 can't even match it because they only play once today. So TSM secures their first place at the end of week 2 of the LCS.
They figured they had to get the week when Cloud9 didn't play a day. If we can get ahead of them there, then we'll get another game, and then they're stacked in the lead. Now Cloud9's on the headhunt.
Yeah, I mean, we also knew coming into the season that there was going to be a bit of growing pains with Bjergsen. We saw it at the first game against Cloud9. They didn't quite have the team cohesion down. But if he's going to play like that in lane, if Wild Turtle and Special are going to have that synergy, and if Dyrus is going to perform so well individually, they're a team to be feared. TSM is looking very strong.
Dyrus was always a player that would come down pretty hard on himself, and I think he didn't make too many changes over the break, but he made the necessary ones to actually be that really strong player again that you can look at and be like, going to win the lane, and then he's going to have an impact in late game.
Yeah, I mean, if we think about the 2013 season in either the spring or the summer split, even though TSM finished first place in spring and second in summer after the playoffs, the starts of the seasons were rough for TSM. They had a lot of internal strife, a lot of conflict. They made some roster changes in the spring. They had a lot of fights in the summer. But this is the cleanest start they've had to an LCS split, I think, just mentally and also in the record.
A lot of great changes for the new year coming in for them. We've got to take a quick break right now, but when we respawn, Bjergsen and Xpecial join Freak at the analyst desk to talk about his day on the Rift. Then we'll see if Cloud9 can rebound from their first defeat in the spring split when they take on Curse. Don't go anywhere.
They're
Still
in
7k.
Back up,
Still
back up,
7k. Still 7k.
Pretty healthy. We can still look to. Okay,
It's fine,
they're
it's
going in
fine.
hard on Wiz. They're going in hard on Wiz. Can we go on this? I'm going on
Okay,
turtle
okay.
for now.
Okay, I'm ulting.
On turtle. Kill him. Reset.
Nice! Nice!
I can't go. I'm gonna go soon, okay? Get ready. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm going. Just got the Z.
Special, get ready to go.
Going,
Jinx.
going.
Jinx.
Just run bot on him. Run bot.
Cat's behind you guys. She's coming behind you guys.
Yeah, I'm on.
Kite down if you can. Kite down. I'm moving back a bit. Kite down.
I'm on cat.
I'm
on Leona first. I'm on cat. Run.
Yeah.
I got him. Got him. Nice.
Nice.
Missing, Riven. This is it.